I need to make love. Don't move. I need to make love, Eli, but I'm terrified. I need to make love. Don't move. The words trembled from Isabella Hawthorne's lips as she stood in the blistering Colorado dust, her calloused hands slowly sliding the worn suspender strap up Rhett Callahan's sun-bleached shirt. At 6'5", in her long black mourning dress, the towering widow loomed over the quiet rancher, her huge fingers resting against his chest longer than necessary. Rhett's breath caught. This silent man who'd worked his dying ranch alone the 6 brutal years never dreamed the town blacksmith's widow would ever touch him like this, like she truly needed him. Isabella's storm-grey eyes burned with 20 months of raw, aching loneliness as she whispered again, I need to make love, Rhett, but I'm terrified I'll hurt you. The lonely rancher stood frozen beneath her touch, the endless high plains rolling behind them like golden waves, and what he did next would shock the entire town of Bitter Creek. But would this towering widow's forbidden confession destroy them both? And what was the quiet rancher hiding behind those soft brown eyes that made him crave her power instead of fearing it? 4 months earlier, Isabella Hawthorne had finally stopped crying. The tears dried up the day after they buried Levi, her gentle giant of a husband crushed beneath a collapsed timber frame that should have killed 5 men, but only took him. 20 months alone in that roaring forge, pounding steel until her palms bled. Because if she stopped moving, if she let herself feel, the grief would swallow her alive. At 6'5", since she was 15, Isabella had learned early the world wasn't built for women like her. Too tall, too strong, too much. But Levi had loved her exactly as she was, called her his Queen of the Rockies. And when he died, she believed that kind of love was buried with him. Then one blazing morning, Rhett Callahan walked into her forge, and everything changed, though she didn't know it yet. His gelding had thrown a shoe 4 miles out, and he stood in the doorway, hat in hand, dust thick on his battered boots. At 5'8", he was shorter than most men in Bitter Creek, and grief had carved deep lines around his mouth that made him look older than 40. His wife, Hannah, had bled out giving birth to their daughter, who never took a single breath. 6 years ago now. The town whispered he'd gone half mad after, worked himself numb on that failing ranch just to keep the memories at bay. But when Rhett looked at Isabella, he didn't stare at her collarbone or the ceiling or his own feet like every other man. His warm brown eyes met her straight on, and something in her chest that had been frozen for 20 months cracked open just a little. "Heard you're the finest smith between here and Denver," he said quietly. His voice was low, steady, respectful, and it made her want to cry for reasons she couldn't name. "Heard right," she managed, wiping soot-black hands on her leather apron. "Bring him round back." As she worked the gelding's hoof, Rhett spoke soft and gentle to the horse, words that calmed the animal instantly. Most men cursed or stayed silent. This man spoke tenderness like it was a language he'd never forgotten, even after everything he'd lost. "You're good with him," Isabella said, driving the last nail home. Rhett's lips curved into something almost a smile. "Better company than most folks," he admitted, then softer. "Present company excluded, ma'am." Something warm and dangerous bloomed in Isabella's chest. She straightened to her full height, expecting him to step back like every man always did when they remembered exactly how big she was. Rhett didn't move. He looked up at her with those gentle brown eyes and said, "Any man who can't see past a few inches to the woman swinging that hammer is a blind fool, ma'am, and I've been called a lot of things, but never blind." His hand brushed her forearm, warm, sure, unafraid. Nobody touched her casually anymore. Nobody reached for her like she wasn't a freak or a burden. "That'll be $3, she whispered, voice gone rough. Rhett pressed the coins into her palm, his fingers lingering in a way that made her pulse thunder. "I'll be back," he promised. "Got 4 more horses that'll need shoes before winter." Winter was months away. They both knew it. She watched him ride away across the wind-swept plains, her palm still burning where he'd touched her. And Isabella Hawthorne let herself hope, just maybe, she wasn't finished being wanted after all. Rhett came back in 4 days, not 4 months, with a broken wagon tongue that wasn't broken at all, just a fresh axe mark on the end. Isabella saw him riding up the dusty track, and her heart did something foolish. It leapt like she was 17 again. The visits became a rhythm, steady as breathing. Every few days Rhett found another reason. A loose hinge, a bent ploughshare, advice on a limping mare. Each time he stayed longer, and each time Isabella worked slower, stretching the minutes like warm taffy. They talked while she hammered steel, about everything and nothing. He told her about Hannah, how losing her and the baby had hollowed him out. "Felt like the Lord reached in and scooped out everything that made me a man," Rhett said one twilight, voice raw. 6 years just existing, going through the motions. He looked at her, really looked. "Then I met you, and I remembered what it felt like to want tomorrow." Isabella's hammer stilled. "Rhett, I know it's only been a few weeks," he said quickly. "I know I'm crazy showing up with my made-up repairs and fake broken things." He laughed shakily. "Maybe I am crazy, but Isabella, when I'm here watching you work, listening to you talk about the forge and your pa and how Levi used to bring you wildflowers even when he told you they'd just wilt, I don't feel alone anymore. Haven't felt that in 6 years. The forge suddenly felt too small, too hot, too full of everything she'd been terrified to want again." She set the hammer down with trembling hands. "Levi was a good man," she whispered. "Loved me exactly as I am, called me his Queen of the Rockies, and never once made me feel like I was too much." Tears burned her eyes. "Don't figure I'll find that twice in one lifetime. Don't figure the world works that way for women built like me." Rhett stood up and stepped closer, and Isabella's breath caught, because he was looking at her the way Levi used to, like she was everything. "Isabella, I need to tell you something," he said, "and I need you to hear me. I don't come for the ironwork. I come because you make me laugh with your terrible jokes, because you argue with me about cattle and horses and never back down, because I'm falling in love with you, and I had to say it before I lost my nerve." The world tilted. She grabbed the bench to keep from falling. "Rhett," she started, and the old words tangled in her throat. Too tall, too strong, too much. Too tall, too strong, too much. He finished for her gently. He reached up, had to reach up, and cupped her soot-streaked cheek with heartbreaking tenderness. Hannah was tiny, delicate as a bird. I could carry her with one arm. I loved her with all I had, always will. But you," his voice cracked, You're not too much. You're exactly enough. You're what I didn't know I needed until you saved me without even trying." Isabella pulled back, fear crashing through her like ice water. "This town will destroy you, Rhett. They already call me the Hawthorne monster behind my back. The cattlemen, the land office, they'll ruin your ranch if they see you courting me." "Let them talk. Let them ruin me." The words exploded from him, fierce and ragged. "My life is already ruined. I wake up alone, eat alone, work till I drop so I don't dream about graves too small for a baby who never breathed." Tears rolled down his face, and he let them fall. "Then I met you, Isabella Hawthorne, and for the first time in 6 years, I want to wake up. I want breakfast with someone. I want to dream about living, not dying."
He grabbed her hand and pressed it to his racing heart. "I could hurt you," she choked. "I broke a man's wrist once just shaking hands, cracked Levi's ribs hugging him too hard when I forgot myself." "I'm not asking you to forget yourself," Rhett said, voice low and fierce. "I'm asking you to be exactly who you are. I'm asking you to love me without holding back. Can you do that, Isabella? Can you let yourself be loved by a man who wants your strength because of it, not in spite of it?" The question hung between them like lightning about to strike. She opened her mouth, yes, trembling on her lips, when the door slammed open. Sheriff Garrett and 4 town council members barged in, faces smug and official. "Callahan," the sheriff barked, "we're here about the Hawthorne property. Got several interested parties who might take on the forge and the woman if the terms are sweetened." "Get out," Isabella's voice was cold steel. "Now, Mrs. Hawthorne, we're only trying to help." Her hammer came down so hard the anvil rang like a church bell and the floor shook. The men nearly tripped over each other fleeing. Rhett squeezed her hand in the ringing silence. "What I planned to do was drop to one knee and ask you to marry me. But first I need to remind this town you're not for sale. Saturday, Town Hall, trust me." The emergency meeting about the Hawthorne situation was packed wall to wall. Isabella wasn't invited. She was the problem to be solved. She came anyway, stood at the back in her black dress like a thundercloud, listening to them auction her future. The doors crashed open. Rhett Callahan strode in, face carved from granite, walked straight to the front and climbed up on the council table. "Get down, Callahan! Shut up and listen, all of you!" His eyes found Isabella's across the room and softened for one heartbeat. Isabella Hawthorne is not a problem. She's not property. She's the strongest, kindest woman this town will ever know, and she's the woman I love. Gasps, fans froze midair, jaws dropped. He jumped down, walked through the parting crowd, and in front of God and everybody, dropped to one knee. "Isabella Hawthorne, I've got a half-dead ranch, a stubborn streak wider than the plains, and I'm shorter than you by a long shot. But I love you. I love your fire, your laugh, the way you make me feel alive again." He pulled out a simple gold band sized for her strong hands. "I'm not asking you to shrink. I'm asking you to marry me. Be my wife, my partner, my queen of the Rockies. Let me spend every day proving you're not too much. You're everything." Silence so thick you could hear hearts beating. Isabella looked at the man kneeling before her, at the ring, and at the town that had pitied and feared her for 20 months. Her voice came out broken, then fierce. "Yes, yes!" Rhett surged up. Isabella bent down and scooped him clear off the floor, kissing him like the world was ending and beginning at once. The hall erupted. Cheers, gasps, a few scandalized shrieks, but Rhett and Isabella only heard each other. They walked out hand in hand while Bitter Creek talked about it for years. 5 weeks later, they married in her forge, Isabella radiant in cream silk she'd sewn herself. When the preacher said, "Kiss the bride," she lifted Rhett high, and the whole town cheered. But the moment everyone still whispers about came that night, alone in their bedroom. Isabella stood trembling by the window. "Rhett, I'm terrified I'll hurt you." He turned her gently, looked straight up into her eyes with absolute trust. "Then hurt me by accident and we'll laugh tomorrow. But right now, I need you, all of you." He pulled her toward the bed, voice dropping to a fierce, loving whisper. "I need to make love. Don't move. I need you exactly as you are. No holding back, being careful. Show me what it's like to be loved by my queen without apology." Her breath caught. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He lay back, eyes blazing with love and hunger. "Love me, Isabella, every powerful, perfect inch of you." And in that moment, she finally believed she wasn't too much. She was exactly enough. They built a beautiful life, her forge roaring, his ranch blooming again. 2 broken hearts learning to beat as one. Years later, when people asked how the towering widow and the quiet rancher found each other, Rhett would just smile and say, "She was brave enough to need me exactly as I am. I was brave enough to let her." And Isabella would squeeze his hand and add, "He taught me my strength was a gift. I taught him he was always enough. That's the real love story." If this story touched your heart like it did mine, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment and tell me where in the world you're watching from tonight. Texas? UK? India? Philippines? Australia? I read every single one. It means the world to me. And if you believe real love doesn't care about height, size, or what small-minded people think, share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Smash subscribe, turn on the bell, because I promise the next story is even more powerful. Like, subscribe, comment your location below. Do it twice if this one hit you hard. Thank you for being here, beautiful souls. See you in the next one.